Welcome to Slamfire Radio, episode 430, recording live, and we remember on November 11th. I'm one of your hosts, Mo.
And I'm another one of your hosts, Kelly.
And I'm another one, Adriel.
And I am Kyle.
And I am Sean.
Hey, Sean.
Welcome, Sean.
Our special guest host.
We're going to get into what we did with guns. What we did with guns is brought to you by the Calgary Shooting Centre, Canada's premier firearm retailer, featuring the Sig Cross 6.5. Are we showing it? No? Yes?
I could. It's a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Everybody knows what it looks like.
I'm not sure everybody does, but...
Yeah, I wouldn't assume that.
Give me 1 second here, and boop.
Look at that.
There you go.
There we go.
Pretty.
Nice.
They're neat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice little gun.
They're pretty configurable.
Yeah.
Bolt gun, kind of built for PRS kind of a thing. $2,000.
Yep.
Price is
Nice.
decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good entry level.
Okay. We'll start with Adriel tonight.
Oh, okay. I went and did some hunting over the weekend. Listener Thomas and I headed out into the Edson area to go do some bit of hunting. We camped out. It's kind of cold. It's like -10 overnight. Everything froze. All like water, oil, just like everything, like the cook oil and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like we're gonna cook some like. So he was going for deer, and we're gonna try to get a deer. And then I was just like doing grouse whenever I saw some, and there were a lot of grouse. There were so many. We had grouse with like every meal. We'd have like I think what did we have the first day? I just had like some noodle bowls, like the instant noodles.
Yep.
So we had some grouse noodle soup, and
How was it?
and then we had teriyaki grouse and grouse and rice, and just grouse with everything.
It was gross heavy week.
Yeah. It was really good to try a bunch of different ways, and like, I really like that brining with the salt. That really like softened the meat up and made it really good. I tried shredded. I tried little cubes. I tried big old chunks, and so now I think my favorite was the cubed that sat in the soup for a while. That was really good because I got some of the salt from the noodle soup into it. And boy, those grouse were dumb, and there were so many of them. There's like a family of 5. I was like, all right, we won't get greedy. We'll just take 3 of them or so. We'll leave 2 to repopulate the woods out of that group. So didn't get any deer that day. And then the next day, his girlfriend Rosie came out, and we went and did some grouse hunting again. And she got her first grouse.
That's awesome.
With a 22, yeah, the first one we saw, and she nailed it first shot too. So it was good.
Good for her.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. And we did some more looking around, and went looking for some more grouse, and we saw a whole bunch more, but nothing super easy. A lot of them were getting kind of cagey, kind of a thing. But it was really interesting area of the to go hunting. Thomas really knew the area and had scattered it out a little bit before, so he knew some good spots to go. And it was really good. I think they're going to go hunting some more this November, and hopefully they get that deer or at least some more grouse. Man, I love grouse. It's so quick. It's so quick to go get a couple. They're so quick to clean. We saw some gray jays, which are like
they're like blue jays, but they're gray, and
they love meat. They were cleaning these grouse, and the gray jays are like a meter away, and they're like, "What you got there? What you got?"
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Here's a heart, and I threw it at the gray jay. He's like, "All right," went and grabbed it and took it off into the trees. It's like, "Oh, it's
Nice.
yeah,
weird."
they're carnivores too.
They do. They do love the deer and grouse meat. It was a ton of fun. Lots of fun. Lots of good food. Good practice on the cold weather stuff, just like -10 overnight, and what you got to do to make it through that in a tent. And overall, like, real fun.
Cool.
And then I actually, a buddy of mine found a really good deal on Town Post. And he's like, "You gotta go get this for me, and I'll pay you back for it." And it's a Vortex Crossfire 2 red dot and the Micro 3X magnifier, the swing out one. It's really small. I can't remember where I've got it. Oh, I've got it mounted on a gun. I don't feel like getting it right now. But red dot and a magnifier on it. I think that I really like the magnifier. Like, it feels really nice. The swing arm on it is pretty decent. The dot, I don't have astigmatism, but the dot like blows out a little bit at an angle, so I don't think it's quite good enough. But like I was worried because like that Crossfire 2, it's just like a rheostat on side. Turn it on or turn it off or whatever. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna kill batteries with this thing. CR 2032. Like this is no good. But then I went and looked online, and their battery life on number 6 for that red dot is 50,000 hours.
Oh, is that? I have one of them.
So
I always turn it off.
Just leave it on. Who cares? Just crank it to 6 and don't worry about it. Replace the battery every 2 years if you want to be real like conservative about it, and don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yep. I love the new red dots, and the fact that their batteries last for so long is so good, because the problem with the red dot, you go to the range, dot's dead, and it takes some weird snowflakey battery, and we're like, oh, I guess I pack up and I go home, right?
Yeah.
And now that and it used to be that you could get a good red dot that would last a long time. It would just be very expensive, and now many of the even cheapest red dots have 30 to 50,000 hour lifetimes on it. They're going to last for years on a battery.
Or you can try with the new Vortex red dot that they're doing with the
solar panel on the top. Yeah, the Spark Solar. Yeah, that's kind of interesting too. Yeah. Yep. A lot of them are coming with night vision too. The Crossfire 2 has like night vision settings on it for, I don't know, people in freer areas than Canada. Well, I guess you could use a dot. It's just you couldn't shoot it like in most places, and it's very tight. Like the problem with running night vision on a dot like that is like the window on it is super small. So I don't know you're going to be able to see anything through it anyways with night vision, depending on what kind of night vision you're running. But it does have night vision settings on it.
I think that the hunting gear guy has to do a little bit of a.
Do I got to get the 4 thing, the night vision with the 4, and then like the flip up one? Yeah,
you definitely need to get quad nods.
Yeah,
quad nods.
And for what? Like going hiking at night, I guess.
Yeah. Walking
with flashlight.
I don't know.
I don't need a flashlight where I'm going. Yeah, no, it's anyway, it's an interesting product, and that the Micro 3X magnifier feels really great. So cool. I think that's a decent product as well. So yeah, watch for those reviews coming out. I don't know, sometime or another. And I think that's about it for me this weekend. I'm going to be going hunting some more, and hopefully get a
deer or grouse.
Moose. I want a moose. That's what I want the most.
You want the moose the most?
Mm-hmm. Because the meat's good. The meat's really good out of a moose, and beef's expensive right now. Like red meat's expensive.
It is.
So if I get a moose, the value is like way up there. Buy low, sell high. That moose tag is like cheap compared to what that meat would be worth.
Yeah, but you have to get a moose.
True. Yeah, I got a week to do it.
This is true.
Looking hard for it. That's about it for me. What about you, Kelly?
So it was a productive week this week. Renewed my IPSC Ontario membership, and I did it early. I didn't procrastinate. It was awesome. Didn't have to pay extra fees or anything. It was awesome. The other thing I did is also on Saturday, because it was Saturday, you know what I did? I went to SFRC, and I bought some ammo because, well, I renewed my IPSC Ontario membership, didn't I tell you? So I bought some 9mm, a couple thousand rounds of the 127 grain mag tech. They had it on sale, so it's not the greatest. It's not the worst. So it was okay.
It's cheap. Goes bang.
It's cheap, and it went bang. So yeah.
Went bang. Good.
Went bang. Also, I went this weekend and I did some deer hunting, although it wasn't really deer hunting. It was more like sitting in the woods and just sitting there. And the only thing
Did you have tea or wine while you're in the woods? No tea, no wine, no coffee, no nothing.
but I caught a couple of ticks. That's all I caught, really.
Oh,
That was it.
you
So
can catch ticks at this time of year out there?
it was 14 degrees.
Mm.
Yes, I can catch ticks at this time of the year. It's 14 degrees. It was way too warm. Nothing, and I mean nothing was moving. Well, there was a raven that was flying overhead, and it was saying, "There's a human down here. Don't move." So that's he was ratting me out. That was it. So the other thing I was doing is I'm going to be going and doing a little bit more deer hunting this weekend. So I set up that, and also we're going to go over to the Kincaid Ranch and have a get together with a bunch of gunnies and everybody that we usually shoot IPSC matches and everything with. So yeah, that's about it. That's me. What about, hey Sean, what about you?
Hello. Well, for me, I didn't get out to the range, didn't go hunting, unfortunately. But I did end up going down to Dominion Outdoors in southern Manitoba to drop off some product. But while I was there, I was like, hey, you have SK long range match for my 22. So I ended up picking up a brick of that because I've been meaning to give that a try. I've used a lot of SK ammo, the Standard Plus rifle match, all those, and they've functioned fantastic in my 22. So wanted to give the long range match a try.
Is that in the Delask? Is that your
It'll be for
semi?
both.
Okay.
Mostly for the CZ, but I'm definitely going to try it in both. The CZ 455, I did 100-yard groups, and they were 3/4 inch for some of my better groups, 10-round groups out of that 22, and my Delask was about 1.5 inch. So I'm hoping to tighten that up a little bit more with those.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes. And other than that, really just spending a lot of time in the shop and developing some new products, like rails for the XRS, Arca rails, and doing some custom brass weights for some people. So a lot of manufacturing this week, not so much shooting related. Well, I guess it's shooting related, but it'll get there eventually on somebody's gun.
Perfect. That's exactly what we need. And we're going to hear more about it in the main topic. Sorry. Yeah. So is that everything that you did this week?
Yeah. But other than, like I said, no shooting at the range. Just sometimes I go down. Well, I'm in the gun room right now. Sometimes I go there and fondle them. And I did get a cheek riser for my X22 because after the maple seed, I found that I need a little bit higher cheek piece on there. So thankfully, with those Magpul chassis, you can just get those risers, and I just picked up a high one, and now it's perfect.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding, that most people need a high one, or the highest
Very
one.
high.
Especially if you put an optic on there.
Yeah.
Like I put the they have those Burris. I think they're the Burris rings with the cant in them. So I put like the 40 MOA cant on it.
Yeah.
Because it's the flat top. So I did set it up for like 400 yards with my 22, and now I definitely need the high cheek piece.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. Hey Mo.
Yes,
You're
my
up.
turn.
Yeah.
My turn. I signed up for an IPSC match this Saturday in Joliet, Quebec. So it'll be my second indoor match this winter. It is winter now, right? And it's going to be good because my friend Louis is going to be there, and his wife is going to be shooting her first match because she passed her black badge course last weekend. So
that's awesome.
going to be exciting. Yeah, a new member to the IPSC family. So that's very exciting. We're all excited for her. I did some reloading for the match, obviously, and some more dry fire practice. Just working on stuff, and really that's it. I didn't get any live practice in. No hunting this year for me, so that's it. How about you, Kyle?
Not a whole lot. At a range or bi-monthly range meeting on Tuesday night, and just more or less uneventful. Went over the updates on the range and filled the rest of the membership on where we are with our walls and reopening. We're waiting for another couple lists of wood. Supposed to be there pretty much any day now. Kind of hoping it was going to be there so we can get working on that this weekend and get it done, but see if it comes tomorrow. And other than that, I trying to redo the intro for the asylum before I get out the next episode. So hopefully I get some time through the weekend. I can record and put together a new intro and get that out.
Nice.
Awesome.
What's the topic on the next one?
I was gonna, yeah.
I had Taylor on.
Okay.
It was supposed to be Taylor and Corey, but Corey unfortunately wasn't able to make it to that one, so that'll be its own separate episode. But it was Taylor, and we went over USPSA Nationals down in the States, the Optics Nationals.
Awesome. That should be interesting.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it turned out good.
Cool.
Good.
Something to look forward to listening to.
We'll get into upcoming events sponsored by Telis Alpha. Telis Alpha is a Canadian digital agency that works exclusively in the firearms vertical. They help with business processes, strategic planning, websites, e-commerce, and battling the stigma the industry carries with banks, merchant processors, and social media. Learn more at telisalpha.com. From Chris W., we have the Action Pistol Match in Guelph, Ontario, Friday, November 19th at 2 p.m. or Saturday, November 20th at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. I think that's it for events.
Yup.
We have for the news, I just put one little news item. The gunsmith that was shot and killed in Simcoe, Ontario, Roger Katanko. There's still Katanko?
Yeah.
There's some
Updates?
No, I'm getting it wrong.
No, there's like nothing, and probably not going to be anything for months and months if they actually release anything. It's just, I've been following stuff in the IPSC Ontario forum because it seems like a lot of the guys knew him and dealt with him and did business with him, and everyone had like so many great things to say. So it's just disappointing. There is a GoFundMe for him too, so people can donate to that for the memorial and stuff for the family.
Okay.
So, in terms of news, there's nothing because I don't even know if we're ever going to hear what truly happened. So,
No.
Yeah. Well,
You'll
right now.
hear that they have investigated it and they didn't find anything wrong.
Yeah. And, that's scary considering it could happen to any of us, right? So,
That's true.
being legal gun owners who they know we have guns. So, anyways, I'll leave it.
I don't have any guns.
You don't. Because we're not all being stored at somebody else's place and transferred legally.
Sold and transferred.
Sold and transferred.
Okay, everyone but Adriel has.
Why are you on the show? Anyways. Kidding. I'm sorry.
He's here for the grouse cooking tips.
Regalia. Oh yes, right. We're a cook show. We're a cooking show.
Grouse, duck, everything. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
We have no new CCFR legal donations, but if you do want to donate, please do for the legal fund at finance@firearmsrights.ca. We have our own contest. Keep your right to defile your guns. Yes, you can still modify Dremel your guns. If you listen to Slamfire Radio, you will hear us talk about our love of everyone's favorite tool, the Dremel. With the way things are going, soon you may not even be able to mod your guns with files and Dremels. But with SFR's CCFR Legal Challenge fundraiser, you can help us save your rights and win a chance to Dremel your way to freedom. Here's a chance at an Adriel, the Dremel Demigod autographed cordless Dremel 8220. So you can donate to the CCFR Legal Challenge or send an EMT to them as well. Use the password HELP CCFR, all caps. And you can send us an email with proof of donation, name and contact info at slamfireradio@gmail.com. Draw, I guess, will be next week. Next week, the 18th.
We'll do it live on air, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll do it live. Cool. Yeah, we'll do it live.
Okay.
That's the only way to do it.
And we have a new person, Spencer. So thank you. And that's it for that.
We got a bunch.
You want
We
me
got
to
a bunch. Well, no, but we got a bunch. So, but
we have a bunch. Yeah.
It's your last chance, people. Just saying. You want to get in? Your odds are pretty good, though. Okay. I'll be quiet now.
Anything else, Kelly?
No,
No.
sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
I'll be demure again.
No, don't be too. Please don't. We'll get into new gun stuff, sponsored by Bolt Action Coffee. Slamfire is a brand ambassador for Bolt Action Coffee. The coffee is roasted in small batches and is quite honestly some of the best coffee you can get your hands on. Send it to your house by going to www.boltactioncoffee.com. Discount code SLAMFIRE, all uppercase. And for new gun stuff, Adriel? Adriel?
Adriel.
Yeah. I'm just getting it. Okay, there we go. First one. If you wanted to build an M1 Garand, this is not the worst way to start. Beretta or Breda M1 Garand receiver.
Oh, cool.
If you want to build like a 308 Garand, start with one of those. $50. So Durham Outdoors has these things, $50 for a receiver. Completely stripped, so you need to add a whole bunch of parts to it. But if you want to build one.
It's Build a Garand, kind of like Build a Bear.
Kind of like Build a Bear, yeah.
Like Build a Bear, yeah. Exactly like that, yeah.
I like the reference, yeah.
Yeah,
for
with
adults.
Garands, I would build one of these, but there's two parts that I'm a little bit more nervous about, or I just don't want to buy the tools for. Indexing the barrel,
Oh, yeah.
because you need to be able to like indicate and get that proper, and then cutting the chamber, like doing the final reaming, because a lot of the barrels that come with, you need to do final reaming on them with a pull through. Is typically what you would do, and that seems like something where if you're going to do them, you might as well do like a bunch of them rather than just do one. It's not like an AR where you can just like bolt it together and in an hour and call it a day. You gotta do a little bit of work, and there's a couple tools you might need. I guess there's tools you need for ARs too. You still need like your clamps, and you still need a couple of different wrenches and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Or you can pack it up and send it to somebody who already has the tools and has done it several times, and can send it back to you. You can get all the parts and everything else and put it together.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anywho, if you want to start your Garand, even just a little baby step on it, $50.
There you go.
Durham Outdoors.
Deal.
And then Kelly was just here, but SFRC got their a large Canik shipment.
Yeah.
They now have 14 different models and configurations to choose from. So if you're looking for a middle-of-the-road budget handgun that comes in some really wild colors and different flavors, they got them. Yep.
What is that, alabaster white?
Alabaster? Is that what that is? I like it. I tell you what, I like a matte white gun.
Nope.
No?
No.
What about wait?
Stay
There's another
white
one
for
here.
long,
What
but
about
that is cool.
Right.
what about this one?
Yeah, no.
What if you did a match in the snow and you dropped it? It'd be gone forever.
Ooh.
You'd be like kicking around the snow, trying to like, where's that gun? Like kicking around for it. We're looking at a very white Canik pistol here.
But if you use that dry, the palm dry, the white powder and stuff, then it won't even pick up on the gun. So that actually would be good. Right?
True.
No.
Yeah. It won't stain it or anything like that. Yeah, it looks like they've got a couple of different Cerakote versions. They got the TP9 SF. They've got the TP9 Elite, TP9 Elite Combat. It's got a Vortex red dot on there, suppressor barrel, which we can't do anything with, but hey, that's neat.
It's legal.
You could throw a comp on there.
Sure. Yeah, I guess you could.
Yeah, they have a ton of them in. So go and say hi to them. Go buy one.
Cool.
Say hi.
Go say hi.
That's all the interesting gun thing. Now, next week or the week after, one of those ones we're going to start seeing like a lot more. We're already seeing some early Black Friday sales. I haven't seen anything like screaming fantastic yet. Like Rangeview has some Wranglers for $259, which is pretty good. But I think like the screaming sales are yet to come. Tanda is selling candles of all things at a discount. But I think we'll just wait, like hang tight one more week. We're gonna
one more week.
Really good sales.
Yeah. Week.
And then I might have to buy
days.
something. I might have to buy if the deals are good. I can't stop myself.
Yeah, you can't.
All right.
Anyways, that's it. And for our main topic, we are joined with Sean Marginet of Winnipeg. He scored a 249 in his Maple Seed, and that's pretty impressive. Welcome to the show, Sean.
Thank you very much.
I got that last name right?
Yeah, close.
Yeah. So 249, for most people out there, like a Maple Seed is scored out of 250 possible points, and you would think like, okay, well, a perfect score is doable. Like you could do that, but in reality, it's not that it's impossible. It's nearly impossible, because in order to score well, you need to have everything go right. And in order for you to score a perfect score, you need absolutely everything to go right on absolutely every shot. And 249 means you dropped one somewhere, but that's it. Very impressive. So one of the things I was curious about, what's your background? What kind of shooting do you do that you can lay your skills out like that? Or was it purely the fine instruction you received that day that got you to 249 from zero?
I'm definitely going to say it's a little bit of both. My background is I've been shooting for about 2 decades now. Previous to the 2 decades, I was just kind of plinking, messing around, and I joined cadets when I was about 13, and went through the range team. So I spent 6 years on the range team through Air Cadets. And after that, I kind of took a bit of a hiatus because I didn't actually have my firearms license at the time. So it took a few years for me to actually get up the courage to go get it, even though it wasn't really that difficult to go through the PAL course and our PAL course. But after that, I just got my first 1022 was my very first rifle. And that was... Yep. It was a fantastic rifle. It's like the Honda Civic of 22s, and you can just customize it to all end. And so that was about a decade ago. And from there, it's just been a bit of plinking. And from there, I got more and more involved in customization of firearms and manufacturing. And that led me to about 5 years ago, where I actually started working with PGW Defense in Winnipeg. And from there, that kind of led me to the next step, which was I didn't actually have a center fire rifle at that point. And so it was really just 12 gauge and 22 the whole time. And at that point, I was like, there's this thing called PRS. And I'm like, that sounds very interesting. And having access to fantastic rifles at PGW, I decided to build myself one. And started competing in 2018 in PRS, and I ended up going whole hog right into Meaford Long Range Steel Challenge. So that was like right into the belly of the beast. It was a fantastic experience, and getting to see all the different shooters and how they engage different targets, and really not practicing much in terms of positional shooting. It was an eye-opener. So that kind of escalated a bit further, and then I wanted some more practice. So I joined other things like the Rifleman Team Challenge and a couple other competitions. And now with the prevalence of rimfire, I mean, my background started with rimfire, but then CRPS, ORPS, Maple Seed, all these different fantastic programs and matches came along, and I wanted to pursue those as well because center fire is fantastic, but with rimfire you can actually 200-300 yards is like you're shooting 800-900 yards with a center fire rifle, and that being said, it's kind of funny with the whole Maple Seed thing. I've never actually shot with my sling. I've only ever used it as a sling, like just to sling my rifle over my shoulder. And that was the very first time I shot with it. So it was a bit of, from baseline knowledge to actually working in the industry, and then going through a few matches. And then with the whole Maple Seed thing, it was kind of... a lot of times when you do something for a long time, you may not necessarily be doing something correctly, and it's always good to revisit how you're approaching a situation and a subject. So that's kind of my approach to it is I wanted to reassess and take a look at my fundamentals and see how it was performing, And I knew Rick through my business, and he was like, I'm coming through the city. Do you want to come to the Maple Seed? So 2 days before, on a whim, I just signed up, and I did have interest in becoming an instructor as well. And I was aware that you had to score rifleman in order to pursue that. So I went through that, and here we are. Now I ended up getting quite a fantastic score.
Yeah, I'd say so. You took that I need to score rifleman pretty seriously. So it sounds like a lot of really compressed competition shooting recently, just getting into PRS. And have you shot much CRPS and ORPS?
No, actually, my first CRPS match was this year. It was only a couple months ago. I went down to the Pembina Valley in southern Manitoba and shot my first CRPS there. And it was a fantastic experience. Having come from the centerfire world, it was just very, very familiar, and I just got into it. I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing here, and just got right into the match, and didn't win it like I did the Maple Seed, but you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the fundamentals there are the same. It's really just more dialing. Maybe it's more dialing because like even just like 300 or 2 to 300 on a 22 is dialing in quite a bit of dope.
Yeah. Now I actually just do holds. I don't dial anymore. I just do 100-yard zero and up hold, down hold, and just a lot faster for my transitions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
makes
mucking around with the
difference.
dial. Yeah.
So you said that you were out at Meaford. So I'm going, that's where I remember your name from, because I heard you a couple of times.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned it. You said it was the first time that you used the sling. And it's for somebody who, you've been using your rifle for 20 years. Was it hard to actually get into the mindset of using the sling, and did it make a difference, do you think, for you?
It absolutely made a difference. And in terms of getting into using the sling, I would say no, because that was one of the things that Rick had mentioned. I guess the general premise of Maple Seed is come with a teachable attitude. And although I've been shooting for a long time, I didn't want to come in and with my head held high and be like, oh, I know everything. And that's absolutely not how I wanted to approach it. I wanted to be open to new concepts, and the sling is definitely something that I wanted to get proficient with. So it was a great opportunity for me to take that sling and find the usefulness of it. And after having it, the loop sling and the hasty sling, and using my palm shelf, and just finding a stable position, because typically, previous to all this competition stuff, I was very much a belly shooter. I just throw my bipod out, a shooting bag, and it's extremely stable. So now having to go off your own body and use the mechanics of the way your body works in order to stabilize that rifle, it was quite an eye-opener. And having it shot as well as I did with it, it was quite amazing even for me.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
what was the biggest thing that you actually, like, I always wonder what the biggest takeaway people come from a Maple Seed with. Like, obviously you were a good shooter before you came to the event, but what was the biggest takeaway you think that you got from it, or the light bulb moment for you?
I'd say the biggest takeaway is absolutely to do with, there's a few of them. One of them to be with the sling, just in order the proper way to utilize it, because I've seen people using slings, but I just never really understood the loop sling, because I could have probably watched a YouTube video or something to got the fundamentals down for that, but the method of the way you secure it, it makes so much sense now that I've seen it in person and now that I've utilized it. And also just looking at the groups, so I actually reload as well for my centerfire rifle, and when I'm shooting groups, typically I look at my horizontal stringing, my vertical stringing, but then my horizontal stringing, I more attribute that to my extreme spread, so the deviation in the ammunition. My horizontal, I more attribute that to wind, because I'm shooting at distance. But then in this case, when you're looking at vertical stringing, okay, that could be you're just timing your breath improperly. With your vertical, or your horizontal stringing, that could be more due to your trigger squeeze.
Yeah.
And so that was for me. It was on a small scale because of the distance, but it's still very apparent that you can see those differences. And I do analyze my groups regularly, but a lot of the times, like I said, it's just like, I'm like, that's my extreme spread, or that's the wind, or whatever it may be. But in this case, I'm like, oh no, that's actually my trigger, and just seeing that little bit of horizontal shift. So it was very, very useful in that regard.
So if you're doing center fire when you're shooting that, will you start to incorporate that into your thoughts process now?
Absolutely, yeah. Because taking shooting is a bunch of things packed into one situation. So it's not just one situation. It's not just wind. It's not just your extreme spread. There's many different factors that can play into your accuracy and your precision. So now having went through this program, it's definitely something to further analyze. And I'm usually very conscious of my trigger pull. I use a single stage trigger that's usually around a pound. So it's you have to be very conscious of a light trigger pull. Actually, with the maple seed, I end up running my custom Delask 1022 for that. So a semi for that, because I was just like, it's not as accurate as my bolt gun, but it's a bit of an advantage with a semi-auto.
Yeah.
So I took that, and with that, you have to be a little bit more conscious too of the trigger pull. I actually run a Timney trigger in there, so it's a lighter trigger as well, 2.5 pound, I think. And that one, if you're a little too light on the trigger, you can actually double fire. So it's just something to be a little bit more conscious of. And I was very conscious of that previously because I set my 1022 up for a CRPS match. But being very conscious of the trigger pull and all that is very important.
Now, did you use that to your advantage on the transition stages where you have to do 2 and then reload to 8?
I should have. I did not, but
get that speed out of there. Yeah, it sounds like some good gear that you took out there. I mean, the things you mentioned have been were big takeaways for me as well. I think that some of the positions are really interesting as well. Just getting that good practice getting into them. Like you mentioned, you do a lot of belly shooting, but standing is pretty useful. And then some of the different kneeling ones, I get tremendous utility out of some of those sitting ones, hunting or doing many different kinds of shooting. We did a 3-gun match a couple months ago, and one of the stages was there's just a tarp here, and you're shooting, and you got to shoot out to like 300. So what are you going to do? And there was no room to go prone on it, and it was very quick for me. I'm going to go cross-legged, and I'm going to need to do this with my legs, and it was very quick to get into and get the shots off. So.
Yeah, and once you build that stable platform, it is very stable. It's kind of funny looking at my groups. I can't really see them back there, but you can actually see going from the transition stage where you're standing to going seated and prone as well. You can see the first 3, like they're within the square, but it's like open, little closed, a little bit more closed, and then the last group is super tight because it's just I had that little bit of extra time to relax, and I kind of. It's a bit of a battle because it's like once the clock is on, like the first half of the day, it's just no clock, no nothing, just, okay, pay attention to everything, pay attention to standing, your seated position, and your prone position, what you're doing, and how to utilize that properly. But then when the clock hits, it's just a different mindset, and it's like, oh no, I got to beat the clock. But at the same time, I'm like, no, I don't got to beat the clock. I just got to get good shots off. So it was a little bit of a battle in my head there.
Yeah, that's actually why we talk about Rifleman's Bubble at the events as well. Get out of your head, because if you get into your head, you're going to think about the time as opposed to making the shots. And if you can use what we've taught you, you're going to be able to actually get off all your shots within the time period. Now, it's based on muscle memory and being able to be proficient as well. I can't. I'm sorry. But anyways, you're right.
Yeah. She's very choked up about the.
I was
clearly
getting really very emotional about the positions and the shots and the bubble and whatnot.
Yeah, and as well, just like something I've been also very conscious of is timing that wobble. Like once you're shooting off a barricade, it becomes more and more apparent the less stable the barricade is. So I have experienced timing that wobble and utilizing the sling with a stable position, timing that wobble, breath, trigger squeeze, everything that goes into it. It kind of, like mentioned in the program, the rifleman's bubble, it's like nothing else mattered, and I was just focusing on what I was doing, breaking those shots at the correct moment, and it was just, it was a great experience. Even though, like I said, I've been shooting for a long time, it was a really nice experience to get out there, and also there were some new shooters out there too, and it's just great to see. And with that, I like part of it was me wanting to become an instructor too, just because I want to pass on this knowledge further, and as well just grow the community, because it's such a great community of people and shooters that I want to see grow further.
I think fantastic. Thank you, by the way. But I found that Manitoba, it is a great community of shooters, but it's really hard to break into that community as well. But once you do, like, you have some really strong advocates like yourself. PGW was there or is still there. You have so many really good resources in Manitoba as well. But Project Maple Seed has been going out there for 4 years, and we're just starting to get events where they're selling out, and now it's people are asking more and more events, and people like you, and there's Craig that stepped up, and there's Dale and a few other people that have stepped up. So it's great to see that we can start really growing the events in Manitoba. Not only that, with that, it means we're also going to have events like ORPS, ERPS as well, and hopefully, it's just taking off. So that's great.
Yeah, the community is definitely growing, and there's a couple match directors that are looking at setting up some matches for next year. So that's fantastic to see. And I think as I came from center fire, it seems a little bit more daunting to get into center fire. Even though, like I mentioned, the positions are very similar and the distances are just like you're shooting quite a far distance with a center fire rifle. For some reason, it doesn't seem as taxing to get into rim fire. And maybe it's the recoil, maybe it's the price, maybe it's a bunch of factors.
A little bit of both,
Yeah, but it's really nice to see that even young shooters are very interested in getting into these matches now.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Now, your name, Marginet, I've heard that around somewhere. Do you have products? Do you have a company that's associated with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of plastered all over my walls here, but but yeah, I actually started a business in 2018 called Marginet Metalworks. It was something that tied in with PGW. I was a CAD CAM and CNC machinist at PGW, manufacturing actions, bolts, all sorts of different rifle components, as well as assembling the rifles. And from there, I just kind of, on my spare time, I wanted to pursue some further innovation and products. So I started Marginet Metalworks in 2018, and I started developing things like reloading trays, and then I got my M-Lock license from Magpul, so I was able to create M-Lock creations, and that kind of branched into things like the Arca M-Lock clamp, which is just essentially two of some of the best interfaces, Arca and M-Lock put together. And now I'm pretty heavy into Arca and M-Lock accessories across the board. And as well, I started developing some accessories for the Harris bipods, because that's really all I use is Harris bipods on all my rifles. So I developed things like spike feet and a direct mount Harris adapter that goes to M-Lock. A lot of my products and components actually come from an issue that I ran into in the field, typically in a match. And for example, that Harris bipod mount, that came from a tire stack stage, or a tire stage where you had to go through each tire. And I decided to use my bipod instead of a bag as a rest. And progressively, as I moved through each tire, my bipod was looser and looser and looser, because those little sling swivel studs, you have to tighten them with a pliers or an Allen key or something. Otherwise, they're coming out. So got to the final stage, and I went to deploy my bipod, and the bipod fell off, and I'm like, well, that's not good. So I went to the drawing board and came up with a different adapter for that. And as I mentioned with the M-Lock, I'm like, why not M-Lock? And then I can attach it to my clamp or direct mount to a rail or many other situations. And so yeah, I kind of just, with that trend, I just continued developing accessories in my spare time. And I'm sure you're all aware now that PGW is more or less winding down operations.
Yeah.
So I was there for about 5 years working with them, doing this on the side. But now that they are doing some transitioning right now, I can't speak too much to that yet. I can say that they are not done, and there's some things in the work in the background, but I can't speak too much to that yet. But I currently, for the past 3 months, I've just really been doing my own thing on the side, and I actually still rent machine time from them. That's one of the things, is being a machinist is great, but you kind of need a machine in order to produce all these products. So I don't actually have my own machine. I still rent machine time from them, and I just develop my products on my own time and then go there to manufacture them.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, so you mentioned most of your stuff is like Arca, M-Lock, different kind of mounts and clamps, and a couple of things for Harris bipods.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
I post on. I've been pretty quiet with the whole thing. Like, I'm relatively unknown in the community. It's more recently I've been more and more known after I actually went on the Rimfire Nation podcast in September to discuss a little bit about my business and my path. And so my business is growing, and my being known, I'm known a little bit more around, and it's kind of cool going to matches now and seeing people. I'm like, oh, you're running
my stuff.
It's kind of weird and kind of cool at the same time.
Absolutely.
Well, you got some pretty reasonably priced stuff, and some of the stuff is pretty unique. I'm gonna share my screen here because there's a couple things that I just wanted to point out for our listeners and viewers. There's like we had mentioned there, a couple of different Arca and M-Lock tripod platform. As a gamer, my eye was drawn to these guys down here.
Brass weights.
The weight.
Those have been a huge hit. A lot of people are really liking that brass on the rifles.
Yeah.
So yeah, I opted for the brass because there's a lot of people out there, a lot of different companies that are making weights now. But I wanted to do something a little different. So there's actually M-Lock slots on the outside of those, so you can attach you see in that picture there.
Yep, right there.
QD sling mount is what I put on there. I didn't run that for the maple seed because I didn't want the extra weight on there. I just put the QD sling mount on the side.
Yeah.
But just a little bit of extra features on there. And then with the brass is higher density than a lot of other materials. So you can actually make it slightly smaller for a little bit heftier weight. And one of the things I found too is with a lot of these weights, it's odd numbers, like 6.7 ounces or 4.3 or whatever it may be. And I'm like, I want to do an even 8 and 8 ounces. That way you can put a pound on your rifle wherever you'd like it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, they look small, but that's a pound of weight that you can put way out there. And I mean, just for some listeners that might not know, like, you would put that weight out there to steady it, to make it like harder, so your muscles like shaking, or why would you want to put that out there?
Well, typically weights are added either to the front or the rear of the rifle to shift the balance point of the rifle. A lot of people, myself included, I like to have the balance point just in front of the mag well, so that if you're snugged up to a barricade, and you can pretty much just like leave your rifle sit there, actually very much like in that picture.
Just like that.
You can just leave it sit there, and it'll stay. And that plays a huge role in balance when you're actually breaking those shots, and also with the additional weight, it really plays a great role in spotting your hits or misses at distance.
Keep the rifle down. Keep it. Put all that weight so there's more inertia that's got to be moved by the gun. Very interesting. As a gamer, I like it. Anytime something's made of brass,
it's very nice. And actually, my reloading trays, that was one of the very first products I made, but I've actually just released a new revision of that. This is anodized, and then I machine the pockets in after. So it's a really nice contrast now. And I had to increase the price a little bit because that anodizing is not cheap. But it looks, I mean, there's a lot of people that still like the raw machined look, but myself, now that I have the access, this is Type 3 Class 2, the mil-spec anodizing that I get done. So it's very durable stuff, and it looks fantastic.
Oh, cool. Yeah, rubber feet on the bottom.
Yeah, that's one thing too. It's for having reloaded a lot myself. I've used those plastic trays, and they're fine, but I found that there's been a couple times where I've knocked my case, and then all of a sudden there's powder all over, and it's powder in a different case, and I'm like, oh no, which one did that go in? And now I have to start all over. So having something that's hefty, so it doesn't really move around, and the rubber feet help keep it planted very well too.
Awesome. Bunch of different diameters. Cool. Yeah, that's fancy.
Yeah, and I started, there's some UIT stuff, so the Anschutz style rails. I developed a T-nut for that, so it works with, having delved into that, there's many different types of rails. There's Freeland, Anschutz, Tesro, all these different types of rails, and they're all slightly different. So I designed a T-nut that works with all those rail platforms, and then as well you can use M-lock accessories on an Anschutz rail now too.
Ooh. That is wild. I mean, for a lot of people, like, you're stuck with whatever they got from the factory, and that's kind of it. So it's nice getting some more adapters and some more things that just allow you to do more with your rifle. I like this tile M-lock thing as well that you had going here.
Yeah, that was just interesting. I just kind of sometimes I make a product just to test the waters, and that was one of those. I'm like, what if I wanted an Arca rail, but then I wanted to make it even longer, and then I wanted to go back and just to have a single little M-lock rail. So
That's cool.
that was kind of the concept behind that, and I had to make it unobtrusive so that those nubs didn't get in the way, and then also space it correctly so that you can interface it. Thankfully, M-lock has a standard, and if anybody is certified, they have to adhere to that standard. So as long as a manufacturer's certified by Magpul, it'll work across the board.
Very cool. Yeah, there's a ton of products in here that are really interesting. They seem super reasonably priced. I mean, you could put an Arca rail onto your gun for right around $80 to $100. This is almost like that Lynx belt that Double Alpha sells, except for Arca rail and for a rifle rather than for your hips.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of interesting stuff in here. Lots of really cool products. I'm sure that there's a lot of people in PRS that are probably facing challenges with getting stuff mounted that this could help with.
Yeah, and I started with the Arca stuff. Actually, my 1022 that I brought to Maple Seed and set up for PRS, I designed a specific Arca rail for that. So it's a 10.2-inch Arca rail for the full fore end of the Magpul X22
Hunter?
chassis. Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's designed specifically for that. I also have MDT XRS 14-inch Arca rail because that's one thing. MDT makes some fantastic products, but they didn't make one other than their replacement hood for the XRS. They didn't make one that goes all the way to the back to the magwell. So I designed an Arca rail that works with that. And so right now I'm kind of just, I did a little poll in the CRPS thing, and I'm like, oh, anybody need an Arca rail? And XRS seemed very prevalent with all the Bergaras and Rimexes, and now, those ultimatums coming out. And so a lot of people are going to be running REM 700 profile chassis. So that's kind of, I try and test the waters and see what would work out well for people. And Arca and M-lock have just been something that I've gone hog wild with.
Yeah. An Arca rail for an X22 stock is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Because then, like, if you've got your PRS rifle and it's Arca, you're good to go. All your accessories go on that. You can do your cheap little plinking stuff and swap up off and on very easily because Arca's great for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and as you mentioned with the price points, looking at like I'm very familiar with Area 419, and I love their stuff. But
Yeah.
by the time you get it imported, duties, taxes, everything, it's just prices are excessive. And I wanted to bring something to the Canadian market that was reasonable. I still need to make a little bit, but I wanted to bring something that was a good price point that somebody wouldn't have to spend $150, $200, $400, whatever it may be, for just a rail or something like that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like
Yep.
the fact that you started this because it was something that you needed when you were shooting. It's based on
'cause
necessity.
I think that's having worked in the industry and worked with a bunch of fellow shooters and innovators. It's something that I looked at from them, and they're all shooters themselves. And if you want to be good in a certain industry, I think you need to participate in that industry. And I mean, you can still be very efficient, very prevalent in that, but it certainly helps that I have a stake in it. And yeah, a lot of it comes from a need for myself, but I think these products have helped a lot of people as well.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Awesome. Any of the other guys have any questions for Sean?
No, I do know that last year we had you on. Well, we mentioned your Black Friday sales, so hopefully we'll be able to do that for you too when they're out. So send us those if you do have them.
Sounds good.
But where can people find you?
Yeah, well, my website is mmwgear.ca. As well, I can be found on Facebook and Instagram, MMW Gear as well, or Marginet Metalworks on the internets. And as mentioned, I was on episode 28 of Slamfire Radio, so you can get a little bit more of my history in manufacturing and a little bit more details about PGW, such as the Direwolf project that I worked on. So yeah, a lot of stuff like that. Website is primarily where all my products are listed, and Facebook and Instagram for any posts that I may make about developments or new products coming out.
Cool. So just a quick chat. Are you going to go back to if Meaford's running next year? Are you going to come?
Oh, yes. Oh,
All right.
yes.
What are you running, by the way?
I might be taking my CZ 455 out. 'Cause
really?
I think now I might have to do it with a bullet gun.
Really?
An iron.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And only one match.
And you'll score a 250 this time, right?
Hopefully.
Okay.
That's probably what the issue
no,
was
I was-
before.
Yeah.
Gun wasn't accurate enough. It dropped one outside
No.
the 5 zone there.
When I said Meaford, I meant Meaford long range.
Oh, I thought you said maple seed.
No, but are you coming?
I heard
to
that too.
Yeah. Did I say Maple Seed? I might have. Meaford.
Oh, I think I heard wrong.
Meaford, I'm not sure yet. Now with everything that's been going, like actually when I went, I was sponsored by PGW.
Yeah.
But now that I'm on my own, there's little time in the day for me to do any shooting, so it's hard for me to get away now and not be in the shop. So
Yeah.
Evenings and weekends I'm usually working, but I'm very hopeful, and
Okay.
I think at least a lot of rimfire stuff. Now that there's more and more coming to Manitoba and the surrounding areas, that'll definitely be something that you'll see me at more next year.
Perfect. Hoping to actually meet you in well, no, I did. I didn't know it was you, though.
I was nobody then.
You were somebody. Hang on. That name sounds so familiar. Now I know why. I've met you a couple of times already.
Yeah.
Anyways. But
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on again, Sean, and hope we'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a great experience, and having been a listener for quite some time, it'll be strange because it'll probably come up on my feed, and I'll be like, "Oh, there's me."
It was great to have you on.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again to Sean for coming on to tell us about your maple seed experience, your shooting history, and your current business. So thanks again.
And thank you for having me.
We'll get into listener feedback, sponsored by Armory DC Gunsmith. Armory DC Gunsmith is a full-service gunsmith who specializes firearms refinishing. He offers hot bluing, parkerizing, and Cerakote finishes, as well as wood refinishing. Check out his online inventory of new and used guns, firearms accessories, optics, and more at dcgunsmith.ca. Also follow him on Facebook and Instagram. Do we have a letter? But I feel like we read this one before. Is that?
Oh, we might have.
Yeah, I think that was
Yeah.
last week.
I didn't think that was fresh.
There's more hunting
No.
stuff, more
was a
hunting
bit-
and recipes and
And cookbooks. Yeah.
cookbook and
So we should just do a cooking show. Scrap
This
the
is
whole.
correct.
Yeah.
I cured some bacon last week, so I can
You
help.
There you go.
Ooh, yeah.
What did you
I want
use?
to do that.
What did you use for your curing? Like, what did you use for your rub?
I did honey garlic, and then I did
Oh.
Asian style bacon.
Nice.
And then I just get some curing salt from a local shop here, and then cure it for 3 to 5 days and smoke it. I do a hot smoke instead of a cold smoke, so it renders the fat, and you can
Nice.
just eat it right off the grill.
Ooh. Can you send me the recipe?
Absolutely.
Like, seriously, do that.
AmazingRibs.com.
Amazing.
put some bacon strips in the mail. Just put them in a letter in an envelope.
Ah.
I
There
you
you
could probably
go.
fit 3 in there.
Oh, yeah.
And still mail it with a stamp.
I got some big boxes here, so I can fit
Okay.
a lot.
That reminds me, I haven't received any packages from you, Adriel, yet. Is it coming? Okay.
I thought you had a staff.
On the mail.
I thought you had a staff to take care of that stuff, Adriel.
No, staff are on strike.
Are they?
Yeah, they're talking about unionizing.
Oh boy, not
Union.
good.
Yeah,
You got to bust
yeah.
that.
Trouble. Yep. Gonna go under.
Okay, so we have no Facebook reviews either.
Nope.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at slamfireradio@gmail.com. You can talk about guns or cooking topics as well. We cover it all apparently. If you'd like to support the show, we'd appreciate it. You can do that through Patreon, patreon.com/Slamfire Radio. And we've covered all the comment. There were too many comments in the actual live ones tonight, right? Yeah.
We're hitting them
No.
as they're coming up.
Yep.
All right. Shout outs. We'll go Adriel.
Yeah, shout out to Thomas and Rosie for helping bring in all that stuff and going hunting with me this weekend. It was fantastic. And shout out to Sean for coming on tonight to tell us about how to get to 249. Now everyone knows you just need to get a job in the industry and start a company that specializes on precision like manufacturing. You'll
Yep.
probably get the skills. They probably by making the gun parts, you get the skills, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Perfectly logical.
Yeah.
Anyone else, Kelly?
I just want to give a shout out to both Kyle and Kelly Kincaid for allowing me to go onto their property this past weekend to go, pick up some ticks. That was
Some
it.
ticks. Yeah,
Go
that's
harvesting ticks. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
You don't
fun.
have, you don't have tags for that, did you? No.
No. They're plentiful here in Southern Ontario, and we don't. They're
We need to limit the
season.
ticks.
no tick limit. Yeah.
How about you, Kyle?
Yeah. I'd like to give a shout out to our armed forces, past and present, for all the sacrifices they make so we can enjoy the freedoms that we do.
Good one.
Yes.
And Sean?
Yeah, well, I'd like to give a shout out to all my current and future customers, as well as dealers that are coming on board. As mentioned, I went to Dominion Outdoors, so I'd love to give them a shout out. And I now have a dealer in Norway, shooter.no.
Sweet.
So getting across Canada and across the globe. And as well, I'll do a meta shout out to Slamfire Radio. I've been a long time listener, and it's a fantastic opportunity for me to come on, and I thank you all.
Oh,
you.
it's great to have you on. You're great. Yep, great guest.
Okay, so do we want to do the read now?
Your call. You're the lead host.
I don't have it ready. Kyle?
I have it ready.
Kyle?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just wrap it up and then we'll get to, okay. So check us out on Gunners Out of Canada. Like us on Facebook. We're at 2848 as of today. Give us a review on Facebook. Join the CCFR, very important. And before we see you next week, we have Kyle, take it away.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, that the lark still bravely singing fly. Scarce head amid the guns below, we are dead short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good night, everyone.
Good night.
Right.
Good night.